Welcome to lesson 141 of algebraic concepts, or lesson 2141 overall, linear quadratic systems. So now we're talking about systems. Here's our objective. Here's our rules and notes. All right, so if you are unfamiliar with this, please go back and watch my series where I talked about systems of equations. We looked at two lines, well, so I should say systems of linear equations, where we looked at where two lines cross. So today is we're looking at where a parabola and a straight line cross. And, again, you have three options, and we'll go through the options. So here's one of the options where the line crosses in two spots. The line cannot cross the parabola, or the line can only touch the parabola in one spot, which is usually at the vertex. Okay, so here's our first example. You can read all this, but basically you got a water spout that's pushing out water in a curved thing. And you see this if you look at water fountains. Some of them will make curved things. That's a parabola. And then you have a straight line going through it. So obviously it's coming out of spout on some type of curved arc, and then it lands onto a straight line, a slanted surface. So we're looking at this equation here. For the quadratic equation, we're looking here. And then we're looking here for our straight line. So what do? How do we solve this? We're going to pick it up on the next page. So our first step, what we do is you have two functions. Y equals negative x squared plus 5x plus 18. And then y equals negative 2x plus 18. Now what you're going to have to do is, if you're looking for the point of intersection, is just set both things equal. Because you have y is equal to this and y is equal to that. So if you put the first y term on the left side and the second y term on, because we're saying that y equals y. This is the theory that we're taking. If y is equal to itself, it doesn't matter what y is. You can just set it equal. And so now we do the math. We add 2x to both sides, so we get negative x squared plus 7x plus 18 equals 18. And then we remember we have to have our right side be 0. So we're going to subtract 18 from both sides. And then we're left with negative x squared plus 7x equals 0. Okay, so now, doing a little math magic, we're going to pull out the negative 1. And then we get x squared minus 7x. We divide everything by negative 1. We get x squared minus 7x equal to 0. Now we're going to factor out an x because there's no trinomial. So now we have two things. X, because this is a product, the x on the outside is a product. We have x equal to 0 and x minus 7 equal to 0. So if we add 7 to both sides, so what does this tell us? This tells us that this line intersects when x equals 0 and x equals 7. You can plug them back into both equations and you'll see that you'll get the same y at x equals 0 and when x is 7. So basically what you have, so let's see. If x is 0, x is right here. Let's say x is 7. Negative 2x plus 18 is way up real high. And then it comes down sharply. So plus 18 is way up high too. So if your parabola is something like this, basically it's going to intersect at 0. Actually, I drew that poorly, but it's going to intersect something like this. It should have been way over here. Let me redraw this. Let's draw a bigger parabola. I mean, I don't have a graph in front of me, so if my parabola is like this, and basically your line is going to intersect here and here, and it's going to look something like that. Much sharper angle, but I could have probably put that up the parabola some, but that's what it is. Something like that. You can graph these on your own. And if you have the calculator, if you hit the y equals button, you can put both these functions in. This will go in for y1, and this one will go for y2. You hit graph. You're going to have to change your windows to see it, because this starts at plus 18 and plus 18. So it's way high up there. You probably want to change your windows to 50 on X min, X max, and Y min and Y max. You probably want to change them to 50, and you can go from there. So that is that. That's our first example. Okay, so solve the system. So here's the theory. Y equals Y. So we get x squared plus 2 equals x plus 4. We subtract x, we subtract 4, subtract x, subtract 4. You get x squared minus x minus 2 equal to 0. And then we're going to do some factoring. So we get x minus 2 and then x plus 1 equals 0. And so x minus 2 equals 0 and x plus 1 equal to 0. And we get x equals 2 and we get x equals negative 1. That's where it crosses the parabola. I don't know what my parabola is going to look like, so I'm going to just make something up. I get this. It's going to intersect. That's the parabola. This is, the black is x squared plus 2. And the line is something like this. It's going to intersect like that. Okay, so you get the gist now. Basically, what you're doing, because y equals y, is you're taking x squared, y equals x, y equals y, x squared plus 2 equals 2. Subtract 2 from both sides. You get x squared equals 0. You take the square root of both sides, and you get x equals 0. You get one root. And what does that tell you? That if this is your parabola, the line is going to cross right there. There you go. That's all you do. Set them equal to each other and solve the trinomial. And we've went through many videos of factoring trinomials, and we factor them in many types of ways. So please go back and watch some of those videos, and I'll hope to wish you some success. Okay, so those were our 3 examples. So please work on the practice problems, and I hope to see you at the end of the video for a recap. Okay, problem 1. I hope this didn't give you any trouble. So we take 6x squared minus 33x minus 29, set it equal to -2. Add 2 to both sides. You get 6x squared minus 33x minus 27 equals 0. We factored out a 3. So you get 2x minus 11x minus 9. So you could have factored this. If you divide by 3, all of this goes away. Factors of 9 are 3 and 3 and 9 and 1. So let's see what we get when we try 2x minus 3, then x minus 3. All right, so we get minus 3x minus 6x, which only gets us to 9x. So that doesn't work. So if I do the outers and the inners, I don't have to do the first or the last because I know these factors work. So if I do the outers and the inners, 2x times -3 gives me -6x. And then on the inners, -3 times x gives me -3x. -6 plus -3 is not -11. So those factors don't work. And I don't know off the top of my head every factor that will work. And that's why we try things. Let's see. 1 is supposed to be plus. Oh, darn it. -9x. 18 minus 1. No, none of these add to 11. Okay. So, since none of these factors work, what we are going to have to do is use the quadratic equation. So here we go. X equals -b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Okay, so the negative of -11 plus and minus the square root of b squared, -11 squared, minus 4 times 2 times -9 all over 2 times 2. All right, 11 plus or minus the square root 121 minus 8 times 9 is 72. That's plus 72 because 2 negatives all over 4. 11, 121 plus is 193. 11 plus the square root of 193 over 4. And then 11 minus the square root of 193 over all over 4. So when these factors don't work out, you're going to have to use the quadratic equation. When you have to use the quadratic equation, you will get irrational roots. So you can put an irrational number on a number line. You're going to have to round off to exactly place it, but those are your roots. You do have 2 real roots that you can place on a number line. Okay, so 3x minus y equals 3. We got to do a little math here. So if we move to 3, 3x minus y minus 3 equals 0. And then add the y to both sides. We get y equals 3x minus 3 equals to x squared minus 7x plus 22. We're going to add 3 and subtract 3x. So minus 3x plus 3. And then we get x squared minus 10x plus 25 equals 0. We get x minus 5 squared. Take the square root, x minus 5 equals 0. Our one root is x equals 5. So that means this line only touches the parabola in one spot. So if I had to draw it, x squared minus 7 it's going to be way up here somewhere. And then let's say at 5. Let's say this is 5 right here. It'll just touch it in one spot. That's not the greatest drawing. I really don't have it in my brain, and I didn't bother to graph it. But y equals 3x minus 3. If you put this in for y1 and y2 into the calculator, like we discussed on, I don't know, 1 or 2 videos ago, you should be able to see where they intersect. Okay, same thing. Negative 16x squared plus 64x plus 6 equal to 70. Subtract 70 from both sides. Negative 16x squared plus 64 minus 64 equal to 0. Factor out 64x. We can factor out a 16 here. A negative 16 at that. So negative 16 times the quantity x squared, 64 divided by 16 is negative 4x. Negative 64 divided by negative 16 is positive 4 equal to 0. Divide by 16, you're left with x squared minus 4x plus 4 equal to 0. This is a perfect square trinomial. Take the square root, you get x minus 2 equal to 0. And then x equals 2. Again, here's another one where it touches the parabola in just one point. So there you go. And you can see, because y equals 70 has no variable, has no x, it is a flat line at 70. So if you wanted to graph this, you would have to change your windows. At the top of a TI-84, there's a button called window. It's those top buttons that are gray. It's the second button from the left. And then once you hit window, you'll get Y-min, Y-max, X-scale, X-min, and X-max. And this starts at negative 10, 10, X-scale is 1, leave that alone. X-min is negative 10, and X-max is positive 10. Because Y starts at 70, I would change these two and these two probably to 100. That'll give you a nice square window to look at. But you can always make them different, and it will change your thing. So if you change it to 100 and then hit graph, and I don't know what the graph is going to look like, but this is negative, so it's going down. So say it comes up and is mostly in a fourth quadrant. What you would do is change your Y-min. No, you would change your Y-max. I'm sorry. You would change, if it's in the fourth quadrant, you would change your Y-max to 0 and your X-min to 0, and you will cut off all of these three quadrants, and you will only be looking at the fourth quadrant. And if you're not sure about quadrants or whatever, please jump over to my geometry. The first video I have in the geometry section, I talk about how to quadrants and how to read a coordinate plane and where points go and all of that. So math is one, but human beings break it down because of the limitations of the human mind. So you think that algebra and geometry and trigonometry and calculus and all of these maths are different. They're not. It's all the same, but human beings break it down for their own understanding. When we get to geometry, I'm going to talk about the definition of geometry. I did not talk about the definition of algebra, but I will do that. And hopefully in the upcoming years, I'll go beyond just algebra 1 for the keystone. But that's something I'll be working on. So again, thank you for watching these videos. I hope that they are helpful. And if they are, I will see you on the next video.